have really asserted power within the industry. They work with a lot of top names. FTX is one of the most used crypto exchanges in the world.
So he's doing all of this out of the goodness of his heart, or does he just want to dominate and be the industry?
A lot of people within the industry see him as crypto's patron saint, that he is stepping in, bailing out companies out of the goodness of his own heart. But others see a business motivation here. He's really buying companies on the cheap. He is stepping in, he's helping out, but there's also a huge advantage in expanding his own business and gaining customers all over the world, particularly in the U.S.
Tell us more about what he's like and who he is and how he got into crypto.
Yeah, no, Sam is always great to talk to. We spoke to him for this story. He is described by people as kind, nerdy, shy, a little bit awkward, but he really has a very calculating eye when he looks at the industry. He got into crypto trading a few years back, really sort of climbed the ranks in terms of trading performance with Alameda Research, and he really has become kind of a cult figure within the industry, and he's also pledged to give away most of his vast personal wealth.
Well, he's spending and buying and looking to dominate when it comes to crypto. He's passed on some of the big flops as of late.
That's true. We have in our reporting that he spoke with Terra and Celsius about potential bailouts there, but he ended up passing on both. So it shows that he does have a discriminating eye here. He's not just bailing out whoever. He's looking for advantages. He's looking at how it can help him and his companies.
What about when it comes to Robinhood?
Yeah, no, we reported a few weeks back that he was looking into a potential takeover at Robinhood. This shows that he has his eyes beyond the crypto industry. He's looking at sort of more traditional finance players. As one of my sources said, his ambitions know no bounds. So it's really exciting to see him look at other areas. I mean, he's even joked about buying Goldman in the past.
That is wild. Well, he wants to do bigger deals, it sounds like. Hannah, what is it that we need to understand about this individual? As the crypto space, still many who are knowledgeable, understand how it works, who are entrenched in this industry, say we're very early on in terms of the impact of the digital crypto world. So why is it that we need to keep an eye on him and what he does?
Well, I think with this current crypto winter, the industry is at a crossroads. A lot of people want a decentralized industry where power is in the hands of the people, that it's based on peer-to-peer transactions, but Sam's influence and that of FTX shows that there are clear centralized elements here, that there are major players to watch, and that they are going to have continued influence as this space grows.
So what are you watching to see in terms of what he does next?
Yeah, so we already know, and we reported that FTX and FTX US are looking to raise more funding, which is pretty interesting during this time because I've written a lot about how funding from venture capitalists has slowed when it comes to crypto. So he is definitely looking to expand. He has also spoken about buying assets from other distressed companies and even targeting Bitcoin miners.
That was Bloomberg's digital currencies and venture capital reporter, Hannah Miller.
You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Despite Elon Musk's optimism over easing supply chains, coming up next, we'll hear from Audi of America's sustainability chief, who says finding the perfect new ride, well, it could be tough in the near term.
Unquestionably, the supply is constrained. Demand is up. So it's all of the events on the supply side and the demand side have made it more difficult to get the car of your choice these days.
Your best options in the luxury car market explained, and the latest on the push to electrify America's highways and byways. This is Bloomberg.
Wednesday, at this time, we're strongly committed to bringing inflation back down.
Losing hike rates another 75 basis points as expected.
Operation Regain Credibility for the Federal Reserve.
They're doing a whole lot more. Inflation is in a very different place.
Full coverage on a special edition of Bloomberg Surveillance.
The Fed is not forecasting recession this year.
The Fed rate decision and Powell press conference.
So it's history in the making.
Wednesday, starting at 1:30 on Bloomberg 1130 and Bloomberg Television.
Greg Sauter is president of WGI, which provides engineering solutions for public infrastructure and real estate development projects. He's also on the board of overseers for New Jersey Institute of Technology and sees firsthand the intense demand by companies to hire NJIT graduates.
It's become almost cliche to say, but a large percentage of the jobs required in the not-too-distant future have not even been identified yet. What that means is we need graduates with problem-solving skills and an understanding of technology, technological dexterity, to be the leaders and innovators of the future. NJIT is rising to that challenge. It's not just about the engineering and the science, but it's also about the application of those in problem solving. Understanding how to apply is something that NJIT is outstanding at, and that's one of the reasons that their student body, that their graduates are sought after.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Some bonds last a lifetime. Some bonds inspire confidence. And some you grow to rely on. These are the bonds worth investing in. For over 50 years, PIMCO has reinvented fixed income to create opportunities for investors in every market environment. So no matter what happens, you can build the bonds that mean the most to you. PIMCO, a global leader in active fixed income. Learn more at pimco.com/bonds. All investments contain risk and may lose value. Consult your investment professional before investing.
This hotel lobby is full of guests on their phones, but they're not leaving 5-star reviews. They're getting insights from Merrill, a Bank of America company. Like this businessman talking to his Merrill advisor about green energy investments. Now that's hospitality.
Personalized advice so impressive, your money never stops working for you. Visit bankofamerica.com/Merrill Advice.
Sustainable investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, registered broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, member SIPC. Bank of America and a member of FDIC. Both are wholly owned subsidiaries of Bank of America Corp. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed, may lose value.
Look beyond the ordinary with Global X ETFs. From cell phones to smartwatches, our world is more connected than ever. Even average household items like toasters now have the capability to connect to the internet. As innovation and investment in digital infrastructure continues to increase, technologies like 5G and the Internet of Things are growing exponentially. Visit globalxetfs.com to discover these themes and more for your portfolio.
Registered investment advisors switch to Interactive Brokers for lowest cost global trading and turnkey custody solutions for all size firms. No ticket charges, no minimums, no custodial fees, and no conflicts of your interest at ivkr.com/RIA.
Today's business professionals have little or no time for delays or interruptions in their car service schedules. UTOG understands this concern, and our tradition of keeping our customers on time is why many of the finest firms in this city have chosen UTOG as their primary carrier. Please visit us at utog.com. That's UTOG.com. Or call 718-361-1110 to open a personal or corporate account. Credit card reservations are welcomed.
Traffic and weather on Bloomberg 1130. Starting to see a buildup on the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey, heading south at Hoover Avenue all the way down to exit 144. In through Newark and Elizabeth, Route 27. Closed both directions at McClellan Street and Foster Avenue. That's because of a crash. Starting to see a bunch up of traffic both directions on the cross front between Jerome and the Alexander Hamilton Bridge. Now the Bloomberg weather. Sunny today, 95. It's 81 right now. Clear tonight, 75. Partly to mostly sunny tomorrow, 95 to 100. Heat index is going to make it feel like it's in the lower 100s. Monday, clouds and sun, maybe a shower, 95. Sponsored by Lowe's. The summer savings are coming in hot at Lowe's. Get everything you need all season long at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. I'm Steve Michaels with the best ride in and out of the city. Bloomberg 1130. Now Bloomberg Sports.
The Mets struggled offensively. Yu Darvish dominated the Mets. Eric Hosmer hit a 2-run homer off Max Scherzer. And the Padres beat New York 4-1. The Mets announced a trade before the game acquiring DH Daniel Vogelbach from the Pirates for rookie reliever Colin Holderman. In Baltimore, the Yankees got back to their winning ways as they beat the Orioles 7-6. Aaron Judge extended his Major League leading home run total to 36 with a pair of towering shots. At Bloomberg Sports, I'm Christopher Tracy.
World markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is Bloomberg 1130. Now, a global news update. The first cases of monkeypox among children in the U.S. have been identified. The CDC reports a toddler in California and an infant not a U.S. resident have been identified with the viral disease. The agency says the children are otherwise in good health and the cases are unrelated. Yet another wildfire is burning near Yosemite National Park.
A spokesperson from Mariposa County in California says the Oak Fire went from bad to worse Friday night, spreading to over 1,700 acres and forcing the evacuation of several mountain communities. Local officials say the blaze is growing so fast the evacuation center had to be evacuated. I'm Brad Siegel.
Russian missiles have hit a major seaport in southern Ukraine. The Ukrainian military says today 2 cruise missiles hit infrastructure at the trade port in Odessa. A group of House Democrats is pushing President Biden to declare a national climate emergency. In a letter, they argue he should use the full power of the executive branch to allow the nation to mobilize domestic industry and ramp up the manufacturing of clean energy technologies. I'm Scott Carr. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Bloomberg Quick Take Tim Stenovic from Bloomberg Radio.
It's happening globally. The U.S., the latest country to cross the electric car tipping point for mass adoption. For the past 6 months, the U.S. joining Europe and China collectively, the 3 largest car markets, and moving beyond the 5% tipping point. If the U.S. follows the overall trend established by 18 countries that came before it, a quarter of new car sales could be electric by the end of 2025. That would be a year or 2 ahead of most major forecasts. That's significant. That's just a few years away.
It doesn't hurt that gas prices are, more than $4.50 a gallon nationally.
That'll step you in a different direction, right? All right, so let's see how the folks over at Audi are tackling this dramatic shift in our world. We talked on Spencer Reeder, Director of Sustainability and Government Affairs at Audi of America. He is with us via Zoom from Sacramento, California. Spencer, nice to have you here with Tim and myself. How are you?
Great, yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, tell us a little bit about the different factors that are impacting the shift, the global shift to EVs. If I think about, Tim just mentioned energy prices. We look at, how they have shot up because of the Russian war in Ukraine, the regulatory shift, climate change. What do you think is the biggest factor that's maybe making everybody shift to EVs a lot faster than maybe was originally forecast?
Well, listen, I think you nailed it with the energy prices, right? I mean, just even anecdotally myself, when I've been driving an EV for a while, the amount of inquiries I get just from neighbors and others on the streets here in California, and keep in mind, you guys know this, but the $4.50 sort of $4.60 a gallon would be a bargain here in California, right? I mean, we're closer to $6 a gallon, depending on the day of the week. It is the economics. It's the economics of it for families, for individuals, for most people to pay at the pump. And so EVs now become much more in view, on the radar for consideration. And I think it's a fortunate coincidence of events. There's a lot more product. The product's better. There's more, I think, people intersecting others in their world, whether it's a family member or someone at work that's driving an EV. So it's in people's consciousness, and now you have the energy prices, which are really focusing them on it.
But still hard to get a lot of these EVs because of components that are involved in the manufacturing process, particularly the chips, and then, of course, just the raw materials that go into developing the batteries. Spencer, give us an update on how long someone has to wait if they order an EV from Audi.
Oh, it depends on the model and what kind of options you want. If you want a specific color, of course, if you're willing to take any color. So all of those factor into the times, and I'd be wrong if I gave you any particular number. But it's more than a few days unless you happen to get lucky and go into a dealership and there's something that you're willing to take. But there's unquestionably the supply is constrained, right? For a whole host of reasons, chips being prominent among those as you listed. Demand is up. So it's all of the coincident events on the supply side and the demand side that has made it more difficult to get the car of your choice these days, for sure.
Spencer, how much is demand up? I mean, we've talked about, how the car market has been hot, certainly throughout the pandemic, because people couldn't go anywhere, so they needed a car so they could go somewhere locally. How much is the demand increased, or how much has the demand increased when it comes to EVs specifically?
Well, I think it's unquestionably up. I'll just give you an example. It is more anecdotal than a sort of a global metric. So we have 2 dealerships in California that in the month of March of last year, so this is before even some of the most, I guess, the forceful events occurred that warned Ukraine and others that have put the constraint on. But we had 2 dealerships the month of March last year that sold more all-electric vehicles than internal combustion engine vehicles.
Wow.
First time we ever experienced that at an Audi dealership anywhere in the U.S. So I think you already saw that latent demand increasing and kind of manifesting even as early as spring of last year.
Spencer, a few questions here. I mean, California has been a leader in the country when it comes to EVs. I mean, it was weird to see Teslas outside of California at certain points over the last 10 years. But if you go to California, they're all over, and they have been for years. Where in California were these dealerships, and is this getting close anywhere outside of California? And finally, is this because of tax credits at all?
Yeah, for sure. We haven't deconstructed and created the full attribution of why this is the case. I mean, all of these things factor in. The dealership locations, one was in the Bay Area, one was near San Diego.
Interesting.
For example, so, a pretty wide distance. I think California's got a lot of programs, but there's just the infrastructure in place, for example, that makes, I think, people feel that it's a more realistic option. They can go where they need to.
And like you said, in some places, $7 gas at some points. That doesn't...
Well, but again, remember, March of 2021, where we saw this behavior, I think you see in the Pacific Northwest and the Seattle area, demand's quite high. But even in places like Texas and Florida, we're selling a bunch of our all-electric vehicles. I think it's a great product.
Fast Company did a story, why this climate scientist now works for a car company, Spencer. It's a great question. Why is it? And why did you...
You were that climate scientist, by the way.
Exactly. So help us make the connection and why you wanted to be there and why it works.
Sure. Well, listen, I mean, it's a multifaceted sort of story, but the upshot is that in the U.S., the top source of greenhouse gas emissions is carbon dioxide, specifically comes from the transportation sector. I've been studying various elements of the climate problem, whether it be the impacts affecting our coastlines and how you reduce those impacts. But at the end of the day, it's about action that we need to take as a country. And within the private sector, there is this sort of confluence of factors that are pushing us towards a really unprecedented transformation. And Audi was positioned, when I was evaluating sort of the options in the industry, they really appeared positioned to take a very bold step forward. And that's why Audi can help them really push through. Some of the internal resistance. There's an intrinsic risk, right? Back in 2018, it wasn't evident clearly that this was going to be a full transformation. Now I think there's a lot more evidence that we're heading, as you noted, at the top of the program. We're hitting some tipping points. That was not the case in 2017, 2018 when I joined.
Spencer, is there any part of the supply chain or the construction of an electric vehicle, namely the battery and the components that go into a battery, that give you pause from a sustainability perspective, since you are still relying on so many raw materials?
There is, but I don't think it's really unique to an electric vehicle. I mean, all the things that we consume in society have impacts on the environment in terms of raw materials. And I think there's been some hyperbole injected into the conversation around electric vehicles that they are somehow unique in this regard. We use a lot of raw materials to build all the things that we use and consume day to day. So yeah, lithium, cobalt, those are issues that the industry is hyper-focused on with the broader ecosystem of suppliers. The nice thing about this situation is once we get sort of a critical mass of EVs in the market, the materials in those batteries are fully recoverable. There is a closed-loop recycling opportunity that companies like Redwood, which Audi is partnering with now, that they started in Nevada, that they have this developed in terms of this vision. They will take nothing to landfill. The raw materials that need to be extracted from the earth will dwindle over time, and they can just create this closed-loop system. So to me, this is such a lovely story in terms of where we're heading. In the meantime, certainly, attention is warranted on how we procure those raw materials. Is it done in the right way? And I think the world's attention on those is justified. But again, I would say that the uniqueness of this situation for EVs is something that is not really warranted. It's a situation that applies to everything that we use and consume.
Do you feel like governments globally are taking bold enough moves for us to fully embrace EVs? Because I still think about the lack of infrastructure. Are we not being bold enough as a government?
I think that's correct. Listen, if you just look at our investment, Audi's investment alone in electrification over the next 4+ years, we're investing $19 billion with a B. The big investment that everyone's touting in terms of the federal government here in the U.S. in infrastructure is $7.5 billion. I mean, that's an order of magnitude lower than what we're as one company putting into this space. So I think unequivocally there needs to be more resources put into this. Now you've got states like California that have put historically a lot of money into this, but there is no question that I'm talking about the U.S. here, that we need multiple of what's being discussed right now to really pull off the full transformation that people really, at least those who want this, are touting.
What is the R&D now that we see a lot more EVs coming out of global auto cars?
Well, listen, on the use side, once the vehicle's in those customers' hands, I mean, there are places like Seattle, for example, that has essentially a zero-carbon electricity grid because of investments they've made over a long period of time. California is converging on a zero-emissions grid as well in the next few years. So I think from the use phase, that sort of zero tailpipe emissions, even if you go upstream, we're close to hitting that already in many parts of the country. If you look at the vehicle from, the full life cycle, the materials they extract from the ground, the manufacturing processes, we, in terms of what we control, we're working on that every day to reduce the carbon intensity of all of those steps. We're a ways away from that as an industry and certainly as a society. We've got to decarbonize in all of the economy, and then we get into conversations around carbon pricing, which politically is sort of a grail right now. But I think we're heading in a good direction. We have a lot more work to do, but I think we're farther along than some people might suggest.
That was Spencer Reeder, Director of Sustainability and Government Affairs at Audi of America. And that wraps up the first hour of the weekend edition of Bloomberg Business Week from Bloomberg Radio. I'm Carol Masser.
And I'm Tim Stenevec. Ahead in our next hour, we go from the road to the sky, only to find a traffic jam at 400 feet. This week's Business Week cover story explains the U.S. government's complicated and multi-year effort to establish a set of rules for commercial drones.
Yeah, it's got to be incredibly complicated. All right, staying in the skies, we'll also get an update on Frontier and JetBlue's battle to buy Spirit Airlines.
Certainly, these airlines are eager to get their hands on some aircraft and expand and be able to take advantage of that red-hot leisure demand in the U.S.
This is Bloomberg.
Today, nearly all business is international business. The same goes for business disputes. That's why the International Center for Dispute Resolution provides a faster, more efficient approach to dispute resolution across borders. Backed by the American Arbitration Association, the ICDR is the world's leading provider of dispute resolution services. Find out why global expertise matters. Visit ICDR.org.
Looking to fast forward your practice goals? Commonwealth Financial Network can help you evolve your business by providing entrepreneurial capital, affiliation flexibility, and tailored business strategies. Everything you need to put your practice in the fast lane. Welcome to a better path to success. Welcome to Commonwealth. To learn more, visit commonwealth.com. Commonwealth Financial Network. Member FINRA SIPC. A registered investment advisor.
Traffic and weather on Bloomberg 1130. A crash on the New England Thruway in Mamaroneck heading south at Mamaroneck Avenue. That'll have you on the brakes. Coming down from Playland Parkway, we got a brake check once again on the Cross Bronx between Webster and the George Washington Bridge. Traffic is pretty slow both directions. Inbound GWB upper and lower decks look great. Holland and Lincoln tunnels in pretty good shape as well. Garden State Parkway, New Jersey, folks are heading south from exit 150 all the way down to 144. Pretty slow ride there. Now the Bloomberg weather. Heat advisory in effect until 8 tomorrow night. Sunny and a few clouds today. 95, 81 right now for tomorrow. Partly to mostly sunny. Perhaps an isolated late day shower. 95 to 100 with the heat index. It's going to feel like it's in the lower 100s. And then on Monday, cloudy afternoon showers and 95. 81 right now. And Steve Michaels with the best ride in and out of the city. Bloomberg 1130. Now Bloomberg Sports.
Taking a look at your Friday night scoreboard, the Yankees won at Baltimore 7-6. Aaron Judge had 2 home runs. The Mets lost at Citi Field in their first game after the All-Star break, 4-1 to Yu Darvish and the Padres. Major League Soccer at Yankee Stadium, NYCFC will be hosting Inter Miami in the Bronx. The Red Bulls host Austin FC on Sunday night. WNBA, the New York Liberty hosts the Chicago Fire later today. At Bloomberg Sports, I'm Christopher Tracy.
From the financial capital of the world, broadcasting across the globe, this is WBDR New York, Bloomberg 1130. Now, a global news update. It's 2 guilty verdicts on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for former Trump White House strategist Steve Bannon. A federal jury on Friday found Bannon guilty of contempt for defying a subpoena from the House January 6th committee. An attorney for Bannon says an appeal is likely.
This is a bulletproof appeal. Have you ever in another case seen a judge 6 times say in the case that he thinks the standard for willfulness is wrong?
I stand with Trump and the Constitution.
Bannon faces 30 days to a year in jail. Today, it'll feel as hot as 100 degrees for about 160 million Americans. Meteorologists say afternoon highs today will feel like 100 or hotter, even in places where the mercury doesn't reach triple digits.